and a warm welcome to another edition of Big Picture. In a dramatic intervention in Rajya Sabha, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh today called the demonetisation of high-value currency notes as a monumental mismanagement by the Narendra Modi government. Though he said he did not disagree with the objectives behind the decision, but pointed out that the GDP of the country could shrink by 2 percentage points due to the way it has been implemented. The architect of economic reforms has even urged the government to come up with constructive and pragmatic solutions to relieve the people of their pain and sufferings. Take a listen to what exactly Dr. Manmohan Singh said in the upper house today.
It's no good that every day the banking system comes with modification of the rules, the conditions under which people can withdraw money. That reflects very poorly on the Prime Minister's office, on the Finance Minister's office, and on the Reserve Bank of India. I urge upon the Prime Minister to find practical, pragmatic ways and means to relieve the distress of the people. The cooperative banking system, which serves large number of people in the rural areas, is non-functional. It has been prevented from handling cash. The way the scheme has been implemented, it's a monumental management failure, and in fact, it is a case of organized loot and legalized plunder.
So this has been perhaps the biggest story of the day. Apart from Dr. Manmohan Singh, leaders like Naresh Agarwal, Derek O'Brien launched a scathing attack on the government over the next 30 minutes. Now let's analyze what Rajya Sabha debate on demonetisation means. Joining me now is S.K. Jindal, Chairman, ASSOCHAM Investment and Investors Protection Committee, Priya Ranjan, Senior Journalist, Biraj Patnaik, Social Activist, and Gopal Krishna Agarwal, National Spokesperson of the BJP. Welcome all of you on this special show of Big Picture. I'd like to begin with Gopal Krishna Agarwal. Mr. Gopal, if you can hear me, will you take Dr. Manmohan Singh's statement seriously today, and will the government work upon the solutions?
Mr. Manmohan Singh is the former Prime Minister. He was the Governor of RBI and he was Finance Minister also. We take his statement seriously, but we do not agree on everything. One fallacy that I would like to point out in his statement is, if he says that he said that I agree with the objective of the government, we welcome that. But implementation, he has some reservations. We also know that there were some reservations. There are some hardship for the common man, but it's a debatable issue whether those hardship could have been reduced or there was an alternative. But we welcome that he has accepted that objective is good. The second most important thing that he has mentioned is, with which we don't agree, just let me finish, is that he is saying that the black money, this objective, even if it is achieved, it will constrict the GDP by 2%. That we do not agree, because then in itself is a fallacy in itself, that he is trying to say that the black money generates a GDP, growth in the GDP of the economy. He has to just make it clear whether black money is generating growth in the GDP or it is bad for harmful for the economy. So therefore we are very sure that black money and corruption are harmful for the GDP growth and economy, and therefore he somewhere down the line he is not correct in his assessment.
Okay, let me go to Mr. Jindal. When Dr. Manmohan Singh says that the GDP, which is an underestimate, he said that it could shrink by 2 percentage points. How serious or how grave is the situation when Dr. Manmohan Singh talks about a declining GDP?
2% figure appears to be little exaggerated. 1%, and if you see other such estimates, 1% is just possible that we could see it. But that really doesn't mean that we should not go with such a good step. We should not go forward. If it has been done, we should accept it. And this we really respect his opinion, but at the same time, it is not necessary for us to agree with what he says. It may be under party compulsions or all those things he is saying. General things, if
under
you look...
party compulsions, you've raised an important point, Biraj. Do you think that under some kind of a political duress, he has made a statement like that?
I think there's no question of a former Prime Minister being under any kind of political duress. The party has 15-20 people speaking in the parliament. They are not looking towards their to Dr. Manmohan Singh to deliver a clinching argument, because as we all know, he's not the finest orator in the party. If they have to deliver a clinching argument, they would have asked somebody else.
Right.
I mean, one thing I want to point out to Mr. Agarwal, that the parallel economy is also an economy. Black money is also money by virtue of the fact that it circulates.
Right.
On black money, the government does not generate taxes. That is the only difference.
Right.
Now, their own institutions, government's own institutions, whether it's IGIDR, whether it's the Planning Commission, various estimates have come out, and we know that 20% of the economy at least runs on cash. It is a cash economy, and that part of the economy has been hit. So there's no doubt that while in our attempt to fight black money, there will be economic hit that will take in. I don't want to quibble on percentage of GDP because this is still hypothetical. We don't know how long it will last. Maybe it is 1%, maybe it's... That is not material. For me, the main worry is the permanent damage to livelihoods of small people, for small producers, the damage to laborers, the inconvenience to people. And I think that is something we should discuss on how it is impacting the poor and what will be the implications of that in the medium to long run.
Right. Priya Ranjan, Manmohan Singh made a very important statement today, and I think that was a clincher when he said that not one country in the world exists where people have deposited money and they have not been able to withdraw money. How would you look at this statement of Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Well, I think that this particular statement, if you take it literally, then it's not that forceful an argument. But the broad point that I think that he's trying to convey.
Right.
Because we know that the restrictions imposed on withdrawal of money, your own money from the bank, is a temporary and transitory one.
Right.
So that in itself is not perhaps what Dr. Manmohan Singh was trying to convey.
Right.
But he was trying to say that this whole exercise of withdrawing the 1,000 rupee and the 500 rupee notes all of a sudden, that is an indication of a crisis of confidence.
Right.
It in fact question of credibility that comes in, both internationally and within the country, both in the confidence in the currency, Indian currency, and confidence of business people, investors in the economy as such. Because such things are normally done in economies where either the economy is hyperinflation, running hyperinflation, or in a crisis, then the governments are forced to do something like this. This doesn't happen in a running economy like India.
Let's put this question to Mr. Agarwal. What about the credibility issue? Dr. Manmohan Singh said that it has hit the credibility of the currency, it has hit the credibility of the banking sector when he was making this speech. How are you going to restore the customers' confidence, the people's confidence, which they have lost?
No, credibility comes from the performance of the government. We are not restricting the money, we are just restricting the withdrawal for a period of time. Even the UPA government had in 2005, Chidambaram had put a cash withdrawal transaction tax on the high value withdrawals. So
I'll interrupt you here, Mr. Agarwal. Allow me to interrupt. Mr. Agarwal, allow me to interrupt. You said 50 days period, but 50 days period, as what Dr. Manmohan Singh said, it could end up in a big disaster, and that's what the opposition parties are raising the issue all about.
No, 50 days is not the end. We will not do everything after 50 days. It will be the continuous process. Government is appraised of the situation and working on a day-to-day basis. But let me finish. There were two issues I would like to point out is that restriction on withdrawal of currency is not that the government is losing its credibility. Second important thing is that people were telling the black money in itself leads to growth in the GDP, but that is a skewed development. You see some days back a report today in India Express and other paper came that 1% of our population is holding more than 58% of our wealth in the country. So the GDP growth without proper equitable distribution will lead to concentration of the economic wealth, and that leads to many problems. Ultimately, we have to look into the distribution and benefit of the poor. By this, and I think the black money holders in our country are people with large chunk of monies. Neither the agriculturists are holding black money, and the small traders, etc., they do not have that black money economy, and they, so that they can hold in their houses
Mr. Agarwal, Biraj Patnaik wants to counter you. Go ahead.
I think the fact of the matter is that income inequality and distribution of wealth has nothing to do with black money, white money. You know, because as many economists have pointed out, black money is not really cash you are holding under the mattress. I think the last big politician who was caught with cash under the mattress was Sukram. That's been a long time. Politicians have become, political class has moved on. The estimates currently is that only 6% of black money is held in cash. Now, by going after that 6%, what are you going to achieve? Number one. Number two, this point that he's making that agriculturists are not holding black money, small traders are not holding black money. Let's assume it's true.
Right.
Then why are they bearing the brunt of this thing because of bad planning?
I'll come to you, Mr. Agarwal. I'll come to you.
You see, they are the people who are bearing the brunt of this bad planning. The poor in this country, the people who are dying in the queues, the people who are unable to meet expenses. And my submission is that today, every day, it's a dynamic situation, it's evolving, and one can understand that government is making changes every day.
Right.
So now, for instance, the other day they said, okay, people are facing difficulty in marriages, we'll give 2.5 lakhs
right.
withdrawal limit.
Right.
But if you look at the conditions they have put, you'd rather be a bachelor than get married because you have to submit to your bank
right.
that anyone you are paying cash with doesn't have an account.
Yes, Mr.
Now,
Agarwal,
this should have been better thought through.
Mr. Agarwal, Biraj has a point when he says that every day the government is coming up with a new guideline. Is it not like a trial and error method which the government has adopted? And that is exactly what Dr. Manmohan Singh was pointing out at that. Because a better implementation was expected from the government before it embarked on such a big, humongous logistical exercise.
Now here it's a very important issue that has been raised. I want to tell one thing is that we should align it, the daily steps of the government and the hardship with the common man is facing daily on a daily basis, and what is the objective of the government in dealing with this situation. If there was only this objective that we should liquidity crunch that is coming in the system, that had to be replaced, then these kind of problems will not take place. So that's not the objective. What the government want to prevent is recycling of the currency in the form of black money. If there is a liquidity crunch is not maintained, if the liquidity free withdrawal of the currency is allowed from the banking system, then it somewhere down the line there will be recycling and there will be multiple money changers in the country, which will fail the main objective of the government to check the cash currency in the black money. And I agree with the thing is that this will only tackle the problem in 6% of the black money.
Right.
There are other steps the government will take in future.
Okay. Mr. Jindal, is the industry really ready to absorb this shock? Because for the larger gain, this pain can be overlooked. That's what the larger message of the government is. But talking about investments, talking about industry, is the industry, I would say, is really shock ready at the moment?
No, I don't agree with that. Industry is from the country itself, part of the country.
Okay.
Anybody and everybody here is the part of the country. If we are taking benefits from the country, then if some pain is there, we'll have to share it. We cannot avoid it like this. That pain part I will not take, but only the benefit I will take.
Okay.
So industry, there is no other way. It is inevitable. They have to accept it.
Okay.
And now when you say that every day they are changing, if it is changing, they are trying to work out something that the pain is mitigated.
But you would not agree that the government should have been better prepared before embarking on such a humongous economic exercise?
You see, government is one and criticizers are so many. Government, come what may government do.
Okay.
They have to criticize, they will do it.
Priya Ranjan, you would like to respond?
You see, I would like to say that, you see, this question of the temporary pain that one is talking about, I would like to focus on what happens after remonetization.
Right.
After remonetization, will the pain go? And will the changes or the positives that everybody is hoping for, will it come? Number one point is
people are saying that there will be a mid-term rebound.
The number one point I'm saying that the policy that is currently being implemented, is it going to dent black money? Number one. So I don't quite agree that this 2 percentage point that Dr. Manmohan Singh is talking about in terms of the drop in GDP growth rate is going to be because black money, which spurs the economy in the general course, is going to be dented, and so there will be a fall of 2 percentage point. Not that. The actual thing is that this economy has been given a shock, and the shock given is its practical impact is that we are back with tight money policy that we were trying to move away from in the recent last couple of monetary policy thing. Now, at a time when demand was already sluggish in the economy, both consumption demand and investment demand, private sector investment was not taking off. In fact, there was no demand for credit offtake from banks because investment wasn't happening, so who will borrow from the... So even when the banks are getting some cheap deposits, and the deposit rates have already been cut because the banks people are queuing up to deposit their money. Now, the banks will not be able to lend because there is no demand for credit offtake, number one. And so the question here is whether the shock that has been administered to the aggregate demand in the economy, that is going to be, how long it is going to last. And this liquidity crunch, which has brought about both the squeeze in consumption demand and is going to aggravate the investment demand in future, that is what I am looking for when you look at the medium term and the long term impact in terms of the GDP growth rate. It is not because black money may be dented that the GDP growth rate will be down. In fact, I believe that in this exercise, black money is not going to be dented. So temporarily that black money which has been circulating and has been spurring the white economy also.
So by when can we say that the confidence is going to be restored as far as the currency is concerned, as far as the banking sector is concerned, and as far as the confidence of the people is concerned?
This is what is most disturbing. I find that the two worst shock that has been administered to this economy, one is on the confidence side, which I mentioned in my earlier intervention, and second is on this demand side. These will have a long-term impact, and I'm afraid may not just derail the India growth story, it may in fact kill it. So that is a very dangerous situation that we have got in.
Biraj, you have
unless we quickly take, like Dr. Manmohan Singh was suggesting to the Prime Minister, corrective and constructive action.
Measures need to be taken.
Very quickly, two points. I mean, now Ranjan is talking about the aggregate, but we work with the poor. So I'm looking at the livelihood of a urban vendor. The urban vendor doesn't have the luxury of 50 days. If he's facing a liquidity crisis, a rediwala, a person who's selling food on the streets, or a person in a very, very small business, does not have that luxury to give 50 days of time to the Prime Minister to get this all together. That livelihood that is permanently going to be damaged is going to see him go back to his village in distress. So that's one. Second, I mean, on Mr. Jindal's point that government is doing what it is doing and people will criticize, the reality is that when common sense is abandoned, then these are things that are bound to happen. Now, if you had to retain the secrecy, increased production of 100 rupee notes from 6 months back would still have retained the secrecy. You are not printing the 2000 rupee note, you could have still done it. Ensuring that the 2000 rupee note was 6 millimeters small would have just 6 millimeter difference between the old and the new note, means the recalibration of hundreds of thousands of ATMs. Just ensuring that the size was the same would have prevented that without denting the fight against black money, as Mr. Agarwal is saying. So these are small things that could have been done. It's not been thought through. I think the wisdom would be to admit a fault that's happened, apologize, and take corrective measures immediately.
Right. So, Mr. Agarwal, today Moody's Investor Service has also come out with a report where they say that demonetization is beneficial for Indian government, but implementation challenges will disrupt the economic activity. There are also reports that some 4 lakh laborers, the labor-intensive sector, has suffered deeply because of this. Is the government really thinking about this sector at all? It's not a small chunk.
Definitely. No, I agree that first of all, I'm happy that everybody in the country is supporting that the objective of this whole demonetization exercise.
What is the basis of your optimism?
And it will help in the year.
Mr. Agarwal, what is the basis of your optimism? Are you referring to the Narendra Modi app?
No, not alone that. I had been moving to various places. I had been to Azadpur Mandi. I had been to various Parivartan Yatras through the agriculturists.
Right.
And you talk to anybody in the down, they will support that we are with the Mr. Modi, and they are happy that we are ready to take the problems. One thing is, and the second point, therefore, I conclude that everybody is happy with even everybody here also is saying that this will help into controlling black money. Second thing is, people are saying that this will reduce the credibility of the government. I do not agree. First time you see the people of the country who wanted corruption to be eliminated are saying black money to be eliminated, are saying a decisive step. First time a government has taken a decisive step to fight corruption and black money. And this is this has been hailed as a very strong step.
But how will you, Mr. Agarwal,
step and commitment from the government to credibility. Now, let me finish. One more thing I'll like to tell you. The third important thing is that have we allowed disruption to take place in the economy? That's what it has resulted into, because our economy was moving on cash basis, unorganized agriculture, small and medium manufacturers, they were all working on cash economy. The government wanted to bring them into banking economy. You see the benefit they will have. Single transaction in the bank, it cost to bank 80 rupees per transaction. With mobile transaction and digital economy, it will reduce to less than 1 rupee.
Right.
The amount of benefit
I'm running out of time, Mr. Agarwal.
The banking sector.
Mr. Agarwal, I'm running out of time.
Ultimately, common man.
Mr. Agarwal, I'm really running out of time. Quick comments from the three of you. Priya Ranjan, pragmatic and practical approach which is needed, as what was suggested by Dr. Manmohan Singh. One quick step which you can refer to, which could be a pragmatic and a practical step which the government can undertake.
As I was saying, this is a slowing economy in a slowing global economy. So what we need to do is immediate corrective steps which will boost demand in the economy. And for that, we know that what boosts demand. Now, what has happened is the government, by withdrawing these high denomination currency notes, has taken money out of people's pocket. Now it must take corrective steps to put more disposable income in people's pocket. And that can happen. That can happen only by reducing tax rates. And if you want to really fight black money and corruption, then you must go in for lower taxes, both direct and indirect. And most probably,
today the government has
submitted what it means is GST rate must not be very high.
To the Supreme Court, saying that they are towards building a cashless economy, a digital and a transparent economy. One pragmatic approach which the government should adopt?
Immediately restore the social sector spending that has been cut, particularly on programs like NREG and the National Food Security Act. Implement the law. Governments don't run on good intentions. If they did, I'm eminently qualified to be the Prime Minister. Take practical steps.
Mr. Jindal?
I would say take all possible steps to mitigate the pain, which is not very good. They should take all the steps to mitigate the pain, otherwise intentions and act, everything is very good, and I'm quite optimistic they will succeed.
Mr. Agarwal, I'll give you the last word.
Hell is
Mr. Agarwal, go ahead, Mr. Agarwal.
I agree.
Quickly, but I'm really running out of time.
If the government does not take corrective measures, if the government does not take corrective action, then the economy may slow down. But the government is appraised of this condition and government will do all necessary steps to kickstart the economy, whether through government spending or capitalizing, providing credit to MSME, agriculture sector, other things, through all means. We will push the liquidity into the system, but through the banking sector.
So you are basically
so that
convincing...
black money is removed, cash, black money is removed, and
So you are convincing...
We are agreeing that it may lead to economic slowdown if not corrective steps are taken by the government, but we will take it. Have confidence on it, we know it.
Okay, so you are convincing, so we'll have to believe in what you are saying, but yes, your intentions and your actions are going to be scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb. Remember that. Thanks to all my guests, Priya Ranjan Das, Biraj, Mr. Jindal, and also to Mr. Ashok Agarwal. We'll come back with another issue of Big Picture. Thanks and goodbye.